bar brings you a cocktail of stories, both in English and Hindi. I am Richa, and today's story is from our segment Waking Dreams by Neerja K. This collection of short stories was born somewhere between truth and the unknown, between dreams and waking up. And today we have for you
My Sister's Cottage. What an intense, hectic week it had been. I just couldn't wait to get away for the weekend.
We, my sister and I, have these cottages out in the Sahyadris.
We found these adjacent plots and built them a few years ago when not many people were buying land here in these parts of Western Ghats. The two properties, my sister's and mine, are separated only by a picket fence. Though we have separate main gates, we are internally connected through a small gate in the picket fence. All the cottages and grounds are carved out of a mountain side. My cottage is right at the top, and my sister's is on the third terrace. What I love most about this place is that it's just about a 2-hour drive from the airport and on a good traffic day, barely an hour away from our flat in town. You can't ask for an easier weekend getaway. In just 60 minutes, you can go from the frenzy of zigzagging, two-wheelers and ever-growing traffic in ever-expanding city of Pune to the most tranquil terraced gardens. It's quite literally like sitting in the lap of nature. Green rolling forests, crisp fresh air, bird calls and almost no annoying neighbors. While the sunsets are pretty special there, it's the sunrises that take your breath away. One of the many reasons I love the early mornings. So my wife Kalpana and I drove up on Friday night, looking forward to some time alone, away from the loving but rather large family that we have. Since we have our own key to the cottage and had packed our dinner, we did not disturb the caretakers. They had long retired to their own quarters. Ganesh and his wife are well accustomed to this routine. I opened a can of beer and poured my wife a glass of a favorite Nasik Red. Taking off the weight of the week like a heavy backpack,
I cracked my back and we both flopped gratefully into the rather worn-out chairs on the veranda.
The night sky was a clear, deep blue and pierced with stars. Back in Pune, I hardly ever saw any. Some stray, soft clouds were flirting with the full moon. Countless fireflies were twinkling throughout the expanse of both the gardens spread out below us and the forest in the surrounding hills. It felt like the sky and the earth had become one. Was there a star or a light in the village? But below in the valley, some loner was playing on an iktara. What a perfect evening. Just what I needed. In about 20 minutes, Kalpana went in for a refill and came back out. Mellow and quiet as well. She stood against the railing and looked beyond into the valley. She could see my sister's cottage. The dim night light was on.
She loved the French glass windows in my sister's cottage.
She took a slow sip and stood there admiring them.
I knew she wanted us to get large bay windows at our cottage too. So I was half expecting her to bring it up again. But instead, she said, "Ajay, am I drunk already? Or am I seeing things?" I got up from my chair and lovingly put my arm around her shoulder and said, "No, darling, you never get drunk. Why do you ask?" She pointed to my sister's cottage and said hesitantly, "See, the swing in Didi's living room is swinging. Isn't it?" I followed her gaze through the foliage. Yes, indeed. I could see the large swing through the foliage swaying gently. "Oh, that! Ganesh's little rascals must have been playing in there. I'll have a word with him tomorrow," I said. "Kids will be kids after all." I had a nice buzz by now, and I knew my wife too well after all these years. Jumpy by nature, everything was something with her. So I started using my calm voice, and it worked. And thankfully, we started to chat about the caretaker and his most recent foibles, and the swing was forgotten. We enjoyed the rest of the evening and the simple but sumptuous dinner that we had carried with us. Around midnight, we retired to a favorite bedroom that was upstairs. This room had large windows that opened to the valley view and also to my sister's cottage. The view from here was the best on the entire property. I opened the window and drank in the sights before turning in. The dark mountains and the blanket of stars met my eyes. My soul always felt like a dusty mirror wiped clean whenever I came here. As I gazed out into the night sky, I saw something moving from the corner of my eye. It was the swing, visible through the window at my sister's cottage. It was still swaying with the same gentle rhythm. I rubbed my eyes and looked again. Yup, there it was, through the gap in the foliage down below, clearly still swinging. My buzz was suddenly gone, and my mind kicked into full gear. So strange, there's got to be an explanation. The kids can't be in there so late. Was it the drinks that for some reason had not sat well with us today? Or could it just be the fog and the dim light playing tricks? I did not want to worry Kalpana. I shook my head and said to myself, whatever it is, we shall deal with it in the morning. Maybe the kids were fooling around. But then, why couldn't I see them? With all these unsettled thoughts still swirling in my head, I climbed under the covers. It wasn't long before the busy day and the drive caught up with me, and I was out like a bad opening batsman. Did I tell you about the sunrises here? Yes, I think I did. Spectacular. I'm an early riser anyway, but when I'm here, I make sure I never miss them. I woke up just after 5:30 the next morning. It was still dark outside, but I was wide awake. Force of habit. I had forgotten about the swing in my sister's cottage. I got out of my bed and shuffled over to the window, deciding whether I should go for a walk or just sit with my tea on the patio. Suddenly, my gaze went to my sister's cottage and it all came back. The weird swing thing from the previous night. You won't believe it, but to my horror, the swing was still moving. I felt a chill go down my spine. Now, in the cold, hard well, not light of the day yet, but you know what I mean? It was not so easy to write it off. I was sober and well rested. There was no fog, and the swing really was moving, as if someone was sitting on it but not visible. Who is in there and why? I was sure that someone from the caretaker's family had decided to sleep in the cottage, which they were not supposed to do. I got angry at the thought, but I also knew that the caretakers were a good, honest lot. They had been with us for many years. Had someone broken in? Squatters? It was unheard of in these parts though. But the swing looked so odd, the way it was swaying, almost like a... The hills around here were rife with stories about ghosts and spirits. Even the caretakers would talk about their encounters. It's the thick jungles, the wilderness, and the dark winding roads. People feel vulnerable and start seeing things. All the villages in the valley had their own local resident ghost, if you please. I used to find it hilarious, all this illiterate, superstitious nonsense. The goat stealing ghost and the banyan tree ghoul didn't seem that funny or far-fetched now as I watched the damn swing in the window. Either way, I was determined to find out before daybreak. I left my wife sleeping, picked up my flashlight and went downstairs. From the veranda, I picked up one of the thick, strong bamboo sticks that we kept there to scare off the monkeys and other wild animals that drop in uninvited from time to time. I started to walk down to my sister's cottage. I had no idea who or what I was going to meet there. Halfway down the sloping garden, I got a clearer view of the sitting lounge through the large kitchen window. I stood there transfixed. My throat suddenly felt dry and the stick in my hand didn't seem like it could offer any protection. The sitting room was absolutely empty. It was a studio layout, so I could see straight through from where I was standing. There was no one in the kitchen and the bedroom area either, not a soul. The swing continued to move eerily back and forth at the same lazy pace. I could not believe my eyes. I'm an engineer and science is my religion. I am the annoying person at dinner parties interrogating the supernatural and debunking mystical gossip. But this morning, I didn't feel so sure of myself and what I believed to be true. Feeling like a little boy who's afraid to look under his bed, I had to keep talking to myself to keep walking. There's nothing to be afraid of. You're being irrational now. Keep going and you'll see. There'll be a perfectly reasonable explanation. Just a couple more steps. Come on, you can do it. I made loud noises with the stick. Cold sweat trickling down the small of my back. My eyes peeled on the swing. One more step and then another. Maybe I was wrong. Just because we have no proof yet doesn't mean ghosts don't exist. My pragmatic brain was backing up. I heard myself muttering the Hanuman Chalisa under my breath. Even I was surprised. How did I remember it? Fear can make you do the strangest things, I suppose. It was too late to turn back and get help. I was now on the veranda, close enough to hear the muffled creaking of the hook from which the swing was suspended. And was that a soft groan of the word? As if someone shifting their weight on it? I watched in horror, my eyes stinging from not blinking. The Hanuman Chalisa came out faster and faster in a desperate hiss, but I could only hear my own deafening heartbeat. Oh dear God, was that a little depression on the cushion? What the hell? Maybe I should run? Yes, run back. Oh shit, I can't breathe. I am gonna die. I squeezed my eyes shut. Shouldn't have, because I felt someone's breath right on my neck, and then something touched my shoulder. A blood-curdling scream came out of me. My terror echoed in the wilderness, waking up every bird, insect and villager in the valley. Good morning, Sahib Ji. Sorry, I didn't mean to startle you. It was Ganesh, the caretaker. I took a huge, deep breath. The blood came flooding back to my extremities and I opened my eyes to look up above the swing. The ceiling fan was moving gently. What a fool I had been. Relief washed over me. I felt like a total idiot. All this cursed, overactive imagination. I cleared my throat and turned around to face Ganesh. with whatever little dignity I could muster. Haha, good morning. Ganesh, how are you? Anger is the easiest refuge of fools, isn't it? It was time for poor Ganesh to feel the full force of mine. Arey, what is happening here? Where have you been all this time? And how many times have I told you to double check everything before you sleep? Why did you leave the fan on in the cottage? Do you know what the electricity bills are like these days? I'm warning you, I will cut it from your salary if this keeps happening. Oh, thank God. I was feeling foolish but relieved. I could picture how hard Kalpana would laugh at me when I told her everything. Poor old Ganesh stood there in the ethereal glow of the morning sun that had just started to emerge from behind the mountains. He apologized profusely, his hands together pleading forgiveness, bending lower and lower as he spoke. Sorry, Saabji, I'm so sorry. I checked all the switches and I locked all the windows last night. His hand nervously went to his pocket from where he produced the key and started fumbling with the main door. I'll just check. I thought I had, but I'm extremely sorry if I forgot to. Sabji, which fan is on? I turned back towards the window with a righteously indignant face and an accusatory finger wagging hard. Look, that one! The swing was still, and so was the fan. Deathly still. My finger still suspended in the air, I turned back to look at Ganesh and then back at the swing. Nothing. As the bright morning sun flooded the cottage interior, it all looked so solid and real and normal, and everything I had seen, felt and heard seemed unreal and ridiculous. But I knew what I had seen. Or did I? Wait a minute. Was there a depression in the cushion on the swing that was still now? Or was I imagining? Was there in fact a ghost swinging away the whole night in my sister's cottage that had come only to meet me? I am still wondering.
This is Richa signing off. Take good care of yourselves till I'm back with the next story.